Oh, raspberries. Spurs take their second loss of the season to Chelsea in the London Derby. So today we're doing our post-match ponderings. We're going to discuss our initial reactions to the match and talk about the different things that we saw, the good, the bad, the ugly, and without going into any great in-depth analysis. So with that being said, ponder upon this. Why does Nuno continue to give Dele Alli minutes in Premier League matches? That's just something to think about because I'm wondering myself. So I'd like to throw that out there and see what everyone thinks. So when we look at the match that happened on Sunday the 19th, in my opinion, I think we had one of our better first half offensive performances. Actually, one of our better offensive performances the entire season. That we didn't net a goal, I get it, but we looked more active. We looked more threatening than we have the entire season from open play without it being a counterattack situation. So I felt like we were doing a lot better in moving the ball, moving people around, not being quite as static and standing still. And part of that had to do with the way that Nuno set up the team to drop Kane a little deeper and allow Song and Lo Celso to move freely up in front of him and try to get through that back line of Chelsea. And it worked a little bit better than what we typically see out of Spurs. So in my opinion, I thought we started out pretty strong. Didn't have a lot of negatives in that first half other than with the things that we did. We didn't grab a goal or something more positive out of just, well, this is better than we've been so far this season, and probably even arguably back through last season offensively in some cases. So for me, it was an improvement, but it's still not a finished product. There definitely were some instances where we would lose the ball and lose momentum, and it'd stagnate what's going on, or we'd have a bad pass or this or that. And you saw in that second half, as soon as Tuchel made the change, bringing in Conte, the entire complexion of the match changed. I think part of it was that he is a strong midfielder, which we were actually holding our own in the midfield pretty decently in that first half. He flipped the scales completely into Chelsea's favor, in my opinion. Another thing is, I felt like we came out flat. Whether we just gassed ourselves out in the first half or what, I don't know for sure. But we just didn't look like we came out with any kind of fire or vigor, and even matched the intensity that we had in the first half. When we look at it, we still gave up 20 shots. I mean, that's kind of what we've been doing every match, Premier League match at least this season, is we're giving up close to 20 shots, if not more, each game. And that's just not acceptable. We can't have that. That's just too many opportunities for something to happen. One of the goals that they scored was off a deflection. Well, that's because we're giving them opportunities just to even take a shot towards goal. Maybe not even on goal, but towards goal. And so we're not doing our job in mitigating their ability to even throw a shot up, even if a haphazard one. We conceded 11 corners. That's a lot of corners to give up for us. We shouldn't be giving up that many corners. And we have done that a couple times this season. And that's another issue that needs to be rectified. What that tells me, between the number of shots we're giving up and the corners we're conceding, we're too soft. We're too soft in defense. We're not stopping them outside of the 18, 20 yards from the goal. We're not doing enough to keep them from penetrating down in and working through our defense and our midfield. So we got to be stronger than that. And then, felt like we played pretty well against Lukaku. He's been terrorizing every team since he's been back in the Premier League. And I felt like we did pretty well against him. I mean, he had a few moments he's one of the, at this point, probably one of the stronger strikers in the Premier League, arguably. And, he's been having a good season since he's been back with Chelsea. And I felt like we handled him pretty well. So it's not that part where we usually fail, which we do. We usually fail against very strong strikers and center forwards. And our defense doesn't typically hold up well against them, but we did in this match, in my opinion. And I felt like that was not our failing this time. So we're going to get into the good, the bad, and the ugly. And just a little quick reminder, good is obviously things that happened well, whether it's player actions, tactics, just gameplay, whatever. It can be anything, what the coach didn't do, or, what he did, hopefully it makes it good. So the good just can be anything. It doesn't have to necessarily be a player-specific thing, or, is it something that can really even be corrected? So bad's kind of, there's some issues, but it can or should be corrected very quickly. And then ugly, it's kind of like I was saying, it's egregious. It's something that's significant. It's severe. Is it even really truly correctable or fixable? And if not, what do we do to either eliminate that as an issue for us, or how do we mitigate that if it's something we can't completely eliminate? All right, my first good. I'm going to go with Romero and Dyer. I felt like they had a strong match. Like I said, they held up well against Lukaku. We were not weak in the middle of our defense for a change. I was a little unsure with Romero because this is really his first Premier League go, other than being subbed in the last few minutes of a match or something like that. I thought he did really well. And I was also a little concerned with Dyer because it's Dyer. I mean, the guy who consistently gives us arrow pro moments throughout a match, and which leads to opportunities for the other team. And he actually didn't have those this match. I'm very pleased with Dyer. Now the thing with him going forward, is it something he can do consistently? Which history shows these are one-offs. They happen occasionally, but his true character is, or his true play is, he'll start giving up errors regularly again in future matches that he plays. But, if it's not great, this was a good match for Dyer. So I thought they played really well. Plus, Dyer even, he had that saving goal off the goal line. I mean, that's 2 matches in a row we've had to have defensive players save goals off the goal line. But he was there. He did it. He did what he needed to do. He saved a goal. So good on him. And I felt like the one thing that we probably lack with them, and that we didn't see with this match, was some long balls, or changing the field, switching the field and stuff. I think we need a little more of that out of these two, or these center back positions, not necessarily these two, but whoever's there. And but they did well. My next good is Lloris. I know it's probably hard to give a keeper a good rating, or kind of a good stamp when 3 goals went in the net, but looking at that, I don't know of any of those that he really had much of an opportunity to do anything with. And this game could have been a lot worse. He made at least 5 solid saves that would have definitely been goals had he not done it. So this game could have been much further out of hand had it not been for Lloris. And he seemed very active this game, and much more so than he does in some games, coming off his line more so than he does a lot of times, because that's one of the criticisms I usually have of him, is that he kind of just camps on his line and does not come off that line hardly ever. So I feel like he had a pretty solid game, barring the 3 goals. But like I said, I don't think I'm not so sure those were something he could do about. Definitely, especially the first two. I mean, the first two with Thiago's header, and then the deflection off of, I forget which one of our players, but one of our defenders that deflected off of, because he had his weight going one way and the ball ended up deflecting the other way, and there's not much he could have done with it. So I just don't fault him a lot for the goals this match. For my third good, I'm going to go with Skip. I know he only came on with about 25, 30 minutes left in the match, but when Skip came on, there was a noticeable difference in our midfield. A lot more energy. He was taking the fight to them instead of absorbing everything like our midfield does often. And so I felt like he was a piece that we were missing, especially in that second half. Now, I felt like we had some of that in the first half, but in that second half, it disappeared. But he brought that to the team. And it actually is, I felt like that's his best performance over all his Premier League matches this season, even though he started in other ones. He just had a lot more energy and fire to him that he brought to the midfield. And I felt like Skip was a positive when he came on for 20, 30 minutes. Yeah, it didn't produce a score or anything, but it's something that's positive in the fact that you see him growing and developing and moving in the right direction. So now we're going to move into our bad. Remember, bad's not the bottom of the barrel. It's kind of midway, things that can be corrected. So my first bad is going to be Lo Celso. I will say he was very active in the first half. I felt like they did a better job of positioning him up front, being more in the type of role that he plays in Argentina. And we saw that. There was a lot more fluidity and movement in the front line with Lo Celso and Song and the way they were dropping Kane back. They weren't as stagnant as they usually are in their attack and their build-up. So I felt like he had a decent first half, but there wasn't a lot of end product to what was happening with him. So that's kind of is what it is. I mean, he's coming back off of being basically off for 2 weeks with the COVID restrictions and stuff. Maybe a little more game time, continue the same type of pattern of play. Maybe he becomes more crisp and such. Another issue, he was giving the ball away too much. Not the same as what Dele does. I mean, the thing with Lo Celso, when he was giving it away too much, he was trying to make these intricate little passes and stuff and not quite making it. And again, that may be to his crispness that he has. He may not be, quite as sharp because he has basically been off for a week and a half, 2 weeks. So that's yet to be determined. But it's something that can be corrected. But I did like the ability for him to interchange with Kane and Song up front and the way they flowed and interacted with each other. But he gave the ball away a little too much in the attacking third. But like I said, it was because he was trying to do something positive. It wasn't just because he was flubbing the ball or giving it away like Dele does often. And then my last point with Lo Celso, he was the kind of the catalyst for their second goal because he was trying to dribble out from the back, lost the ball about 30 yards from goal, and that led to them having their second goal opportunity, which they ended up converting. So, just some awareness of, hey, sometimes you just got to punch the ball out and reset and get everything back in order. But all those things I think are things you can build on or correct towards a positive nature down the road. My second bad is Nuno. And the first reason is the lineup. Why Nuno continues to start Dele Alli is beyond me. Dele Alli at this point in time now has about 25 to 30 minutes of quality, valuable, productive play for the team out of 5 Premier League matches because he started every match. And That's just insane that you continue to play a player. And I get it. We were thin. We have injury issues and stuff. But you had Heel. You had Scarlett you could have brought in and maybe pushed someone back into the midfield from, whether it's Lo Celso or something like that, or even just, not bring in Lo Celso and have Scarlett up front and different things. There's options. Even though we're thin, there's still better options than Ali. He is not. We're not that bad yet where he's the best option available, in my opinion. So Nuno's got to figure it out. Whatever he thinks Dele Alli's bringing to the team, he's not. Because all Dele Alli does is run around, runs a half marathon every match, and produces little to no effect for the team. He's got to figure something else out. Even if it's bringing in someone like a Heel, young, not as experienced, but will actually get out there and put in the value that we need, whether it's one-sided value of offensive or Lo Celso where he'll be more defensive, something that provides a balance, because there is nothing there with Dele at this point, in my opinion. And we're going to talk more about him in a minute, so I'm not going to rant on that this whole time. The next thing with Nuno that I found that he just didn't identify any opportunities or things to change going into the second half, that we need to make some changes like Tuchel did. Tuchel like, hey, our midfield's not up to snuff. I'm bringing in Conte. Well, Nuno, at least, okay, maybe if he didn't want to do it right away because we had a decent first half, but within the first 10 minutes of that second half, he should have identified, oh my gosh, things are really not good. So he should have made changes, and positive changes to the structure of the team that would allow us to compete again. And he just didn't. He's very slow, in my opinion, at this point to make tactical or strategic changes within the match. So he kind of gets seems like he sets up a game plan and that's what it is, unless something goes significantly awry. And even then, it's usually too late. And that's when he actually made his changes, when it was too late. So for me, he didn't make his good enough changes. And then the subs, I mean, I get bringing on Heel and such, but why bring on Sanchez at the end of the match? That makes absolutely no sense to me. Unless Romero has a ding or something that we're not aware of, why? I mean, if nothing else, bring on Scarlett or someone else for Dele Alli. I get it. Scarlett and Winks are really the only two options that were left on the bench. But bring someone else in to try to affect a positive change. Are you just trying to hold on for 2 or 3 to nothing when you bring in Sanchez? What's the deal there? I don't get it. And that's my bad. So, Lo Celso and Nuno. So now we're going to talk about the ugly, which is very egregious issues. And these need to be thought long and hard on, whether these people and or things need to continue to occur within the team for us to function and to progress and be successful. My first ugly, probably guess one of them, I got 2, is Dele Alli. Again, the guy gives the ball away way too often, when not even under pressure, when not even trying to attempt to make a positive play going forward. He just hands the ball off way too easily. As I said before, he only provided about 10 minutes of value or probably possible quality within the match, and that was in the first half. So basically from early in the first half all the way through the match, he was doing nothing to help out the team, in my opinion. In the first goal, Dele just flat lost his man. And that's where they got their first goal with Thiago. I mean, Dele was weak in the air, just looked lost, let the guy just run all over him. And he didn't provide anything for us. And, there's just not a lot of good there's not very many positives in any match that I've seen with Dele this season. And I mean, the biggest thing is that one penalty he got us, and penalty kick. So beyond that, for 5 matches, he's pretty much been a huge negative, in my opinion, for the team. He's just not providing us any value or quality. And then my final thing I want to talk about is Sanchez. Sanchez, in my opinion, he was culpable for that third goal because he didn't track back. He didn't track the man that was moving right through the middle of the defense, which led to the corner that allowed them to score the goal off the corner, the third goal. So if he would have been aware and paying attention and noticed that player, he could have cleared the ball rather than giving them the corner. But his typical, he's going to make an error in a match, whether he's in there for 10 minutes or 90 minutes, and that's just what happens when we have Sanchez. It's Chelsea's good enough to take advantage of those opportunities. I've been saying it all along. Sanchez has had numerous opportunities throughout each match in this season where he's had errors that could have led to goals. The opposition just didn't take advantage of those opportunities and put it in the back of the net. Chelsea's a good enough team. They're going to not pass those opportunities up, and they didn't. So that's my good and bad and ugly. So we'll run through it real quick again. So the good, I had Romero and Dyer, Lloris and Skip. My bad was Lo Celso and Nuno. And then the ugly, of course, was Ali and Sanchez. So we got, it's a midweek match coming up with Wolves. We got another London derby next weekend. And then we're back into the Conference League play. So we've got another run of matches about every 3 days here for the next couple weeks or so. And it's a lot. We don't have much break. We got to figure it out and figure it out fast. Let me know what you all think. If you've heard something that kind of sparks that interest or gets those wheels turning, you don't have to agree with me on it or anything, but if it makes it look at you, makes you look at things a little differently or think about things differently, hit that like button. Appreciate it. It helps me know that we're hitting a chord. We're identifying some things within the play, the matches, the games that maybe some people aren't thinking about, and that could be affecting what's happening to the Spurs. But let's hopefully get back on the winning streak here coming, or at least get a win here coming up either midweek or the next match against Arsenal. That'd be great. Let's not lose 2 rivalry matches back to back here in the Premier League. Come on, you Spurs.